Hello and welcome to the week where no one really knows what's going on. It's the week between Christmas and New Year. And welcome to my house. Actually, it is a flat, and that's going to become quite important later on as I explain my idea for this video. So, as you may have noticed, we are getting started to get pushed into electric cars. Obviously, there's a ban coming on all petrol and diesel cars in 2040. That might become 2035, it might become 2030. Either way, it seems like quite a long way away at the moment, but something quite interesting is going on at the moment in the motoring world, and that is that manufacturers are getting fined quite heavily on any sort of high performance or high polluting car that they sell if they don't sell a electric or green eco-friendly car as well as it. So if they don't sell, for example, take Porsche, if they sell a 911, they would have to sell a Taycan to balance it out, otherwise they're going to get fined for selling the 911. So it's an interesting tactic, and that means that the motor manufacturers now are going to be pushing us into electric cars to save their own pocket, essentially. So yeah, that's quite an interesting move that's happened all of a sudden. In fact, if you look at like any motor show, if you went to any motor shows this year, Geneva or wherever, you would have noticed that nearly all of the new cars being shown are electric. They're all electric cars. So they're obviously really trying to push us into these cars. So I come up with an experiment. Like I say, I live in a flat, and in fact, let me just get the figures. Let me get this right. So here are the figures, right? So I live in a flat. There's a car park downstairs, but there's no like electric car charging port or anywhere to put one in. So the figures on people that live in flats are, if you look at the UK as a whole, there's 14% of the UK live in a flat, 26% live in a terrace house. They don't have parking either. They don't have off-road parking or a garage or a driveway. So, and obviously if you live in a major city like London, for example, 70% of the people that live in London either live in a flat or a terrace house. So how are you charging your electric car up? If you have to buy an electric car, and it's becoming that way that we're all going to have to buy them eventually, I reckon even more people will live in flats in 5 years. So what are you going to do? How can you have an electric car and not have anywhere to charge it? So yeah, I thought it would be quite an interesting experiment to see if you can live with one every day, use it as your everyday car, do your shopping in it, go to work in it, go to the gym in it, go whatever you do on a daily basis. Can you do that without having a home where you can charge it every single night? Luckily, I reached out to Audi and they have agreed to lend me their new e-tron to try out for a week and see how we get on. So let's go and have a look. Okay, so welcome to the Audi e-tron. So, I mean, basically, it feels like a normal car in here, which is quite a nice touch, because a lot of electric cars try and be a bit too futuristic, and it can be a bit too much for some people. They would just want to climb into a car that feels familiar but happens to have an electric powertrain. So, what I was thinking on the way here was the range of this car is about 240 miles. That's on the WLTP, new European emissions, whatever, blah blah blah. Realistically, you're probably going to get slightly less than that in day-to-day normal driving, as with all cars, not just electric cars, not just this, but you know, you put 500 miles in a petrol car and it probably only do 450 or whatever, you know. They're normally a bit vague. So what I was thinking is, if you only do like 500 miles a month, you could probably get away with only charging this car once a month or twice a month. Twice a month. So is that feasible? If you don't have an electric socket at home, but you go somewhere that does have it, you go to a supermarket once a week or twice a week, you could plug in there and top up as you go. Or would you rather, I don't know, go somewhere and charge just once a month for a day? Like, can you park somewhere for a day and charge the entire month's worth of charge? In fact, let's see how many miles I do per month. Let's throw back to past me and see what I say. Okay, so this is the car park situation that I was talking about. Just a flat and then just a row of cars. This is my current car. Excellent Porsche 911 Carrera S. So I'm going to jump in and see what the current mileage is and see how many miles I actually do per month. So don't know if you can see that well on the camera. 8,844 miles. So I bought this car when it had 8,000 miles on. Literally, as it got to my house, it had 8,000 miles on the clock. So I've done 844 miles. I've had the car 3 months. So let's do some maths. I do 281 miles per month. Now 200 of those miles were going to London at Christmas, so that's not normal mileage for me. Slightly less, so pretty good. Technically speaking, I should be able to drive an e-tron and charge it once a month. Okay, so that kind of works. Like, I'm really the target audience, I suppose, for someone to buy an electric car, someone that does that many miles per month. I could, in theory, only charge once or twice a month. Let's give it a go. But anyway, here we go. The e-tron. That started up. I mean, at least we're not going to have any problems with audio on this journey because it is totally silent. The engine is running. Unfortunately, this demo car doesn't have the weird electronic door mirrors that you can get in an e-tron. I mean, it's an Audi, isn't it? So it just works. Here we go. As we move off in near silence. So this car is actually based on the Q5, the long wheelbase Q5, which we don't actually get in the UK, but it's in the Chinese market, and so that's the sort of underpinnings, and then they've taken off the entire floor and replaced it with a battery that can be replaced. I think it's got a 10-year guarantee on it, and then that can just be taken out, and then they can just put a new one in, like a whole new floor. So that's pretty cool and quite a bit more eco-friendly than something like a Tesla, for example, where I think a lot of it is quite sort of throwaway. Here we go. Oh, it's nice. It wafts you down the road. You can feel that it's got loads of torque. You can feel that big push, that sort of muscular feel when you're like you're driving a big V8, basically. That big pull, that big push of low down torque. But obviously, being an electric car, it's got torque, the maximum torque you can have from the minimum revs, so to speak. It doesn't have revs, but you know what I mean. From low down in the rev range. Something quite interesting about this car as well is that it's got like regen braking. So obviously now there's a little symbol of a foot on my head-up display saying come off the gas. But if I press the gear lever, like the paddle shift, it does it even more. So like it gives you more regen. If you can see yourself coasting up to a traffic jam or a roundabout, some traffic lights or whatever, if you pull that, it gives you more more regen, so recuperates more of the electric power. Yeah, so I did it then. That's good. So if I do it again now, yeah, it does. It gives you double the amount, or then go the other way and it gives you less. So you can cruise a bit more. You can roll a bit more. That's clever. So I've picked this car up now, and it's got in the tank 125 miles. It's given me. So we're going to see what we do. I mean, like I said, it's that weird week where nothing really is going on. So I've got a few bits to do, bit of food shopping, go for a walk or something, maybe go to the gym a couple of times, work off some of this cheese belly that I've grown over the Christmas period, and then I'll go back to work on Friday. So I'll be using it for work for a day or two, and then I'll be dropping the car back. So let's see how it works. I used my brake then. I probably didn't need to, but what I've also learnt is that when you press the brake pedal at first, it doesn't actually use the pads, the discs and pads like a normal brake. It uses the regen first, and then when it needs to, then it'll apply the pressure onto the pad, onto the disc. Yeah, see, I can see it's charging there. Let's give me some more. Give me some more. See, I didn't need to touch the brake at all then. It's a good system. We've actually got the aircon on. I'll have to turn that off and see how much quieter it actually is. I mean, inside, it's just any new Audi. All new Audis look like this. They got the twin screen thing and the virtual cockpit, and it just works well. Like, you could be, I mean, really, you could be in any Audi. You're sat here. You could be in a Q5 quite easily. You could be in I guess it's sort of like a middle ground between a Q5 and a Q7 size-wise. I think it's a bit longer than the normal Q5, but not quite as big as the Q7. But it feels like a car. It doesn't really feel like an SUV. You know, it doesn't feel like a big Range Rover or any other big SUV car. It feels like you're in a car. Right, I'm doing the regen thing. Maximum, maximum, maximum. And then I'm going to get on the brakes last bit so I don't rear end a Nissan Note. The silence is... Although it's not silent, it's got a weird noise. I quite like it. It's got like a Tron noise. You know, have you ever watched Tron? Well, not really the 80s version, but the newer version where they released it, and all the soundtrack was done by Daft Punk, and it was sick. But that noise, it's like the Tron bikes and that. Maybe that's why it's called the e-tron. Let's press some more buttons. So, I'm going to need to work this out because I'm new to electric car. Oh, well, that's interesting. You take your foot off the brake, it doesn't creep like a normal automatic. You have to actually put your foot on the accelerator. Also, I'm sure I said it was 125 miles a minute ago of range. Now I've probably driven 2 miles, but now I've got 134 miles of range. So obviously that's partly dependent on the fact that I've been driving quite carefully and quite slowly, but also the fact that I've been regenning some of that power. It's quite a nice smooth ride. I don't know if this one has got the air suspension or not. I need to have a proper look. I really like that regen braking thing on the paddles. So I need to work out what it means here, because it says short-term memory. I reset all the miles per gallon sort of thing, but nothing. It's not done in miles per gallon on an electric car. It's done on km over kilowatt hour. So km over kWh. I'm currently doing 3.3 km. That must mean 3 kilometers. 3 kilometers per kilowatt hour. That's what it must mean. I don't know if that's good or if it's not good. I'll have to try and work that out when I get home. Just pick you up a bit later on in the journey, and because I wanted to try the stereo and I can't do that because of copyright. But it sounds, once you've got the radio on, it just feels like a normal car, because you don't really notice the fact, because obviously when you got radio on in a normal car, it drowns out the engine anyway. So it, like, you lose the feeling of this is unusual because it's not making any noise. Just thought I'd point that out. Anyway, what also I was going to say is it's actually really nice to drive. It's so comfortable, and it's so like light to steer, and like it's all just, I don't know, it just feels really nice. I think I could get you, like, my initial thought, I've been driving this for 4 miles, so my initial thought is, like, I could definitely get on board with this electric hype. Maybe have like an electric car as your daily, and then just have a fun car for the weekend. Don't know, but you'd have to have quite a lot of money to be able to do that, which I don't, so that's probably not going to happen. Also, it's quite, not that I'm speeding, officer, but it's quite easy to go faster than you realise you're going, because it's quiet and because it's comfortable. It's quite easy to do that. Still liking the regen thing. It's a power up the hill. Yeah, it's quite, I mean, I was going quite fast then. It's actually quite a strange sensation of, like, it's power, instant power and torque, and you're going along quickly, but it doesn't really feel like you're going fast. It's because it's just like, it's just silent. And this is a compliment, it's as silent as a Rolls Royce, but you don't have to spend £250,000 to get it. So if silentness is at the top of your agenda, electric is the way to go for sure. Okay, so before we head back out again, we're going to go and do something, don't know what, but I thought it would be a good idea to have a look at a charging map. So I'm on a site called Zap Map, and it shows you where all the charging points are in your local area, or wherever you are. So I'm going to have a look at that now. So we are around here in Bournemouth. So we're going to go to Tesco's, I think. So that is over here, right? So you click on that, it goes Tesco's, and then it's got no issues reported, and it's got two Type 2 7 kilowatt chargers, right, and they're both available. So you can drive there knowing, oh, it's got 4 actually, it's got 4. But what I have noticed, which is interesting, is that if you go to the hospital next door, oh, I don't know what's going on here now. Right, so you go to the hospital next door, it's got 2, they're 22 kilowatt chargers, so they are more powerful, so they'll charge faster. That one is available to use 1 minute ago, or maybe it finished a minute ago, and that one finished charging 21 minutes ago, so I guess they're both available if you wanted to go to the hospital. And also, what's good as well is that, look, this one, out of service, so it's broken. Connector issue. It's been broken for a year. Another one, oh no, that's the same one. Another one, Christchurch Road. It's got a 50 kilowatt hour, 50, and a 43 kilowatt hour, or kilowatt charger, but they're broken. So, what use is that?
that's at a hotel, restricted access, so you have to be probably a member of the hotel, and that's 3 kilowatts, so that's just a plug. That's just like your normal house plug. So that's going to take about 100 years to charge up. What's over here? See, really, I want to find a 50 kilowatt charger. Oh, there is one. Charging now. So someone's charging on it now. Someone started charging 17 minutes ago. That's a C, but I can use that one. I can use the CCS 50 kilowatt. That's not being used. So where is that? Oh, that's in Westbourne. Do you want to go to Westbourne for lunch? Yeah. So that's where we'll go. Go to Westbourne for lunch. Plug it in. Happy days.
So we're going to go and grab some lunch and charge up at the same time. I'm going to make this a multiple part video, because otherwise it's going to be like an hour long and you're going to turn off after 10 minutes. So that's it for this part of the video, and let's go to the next part.